well, I personally don't think there is, but you know, our photography, the way we see, is based on our life experience, our, you know, all different factors, our life experience, which includes being female, our cultural background, our class, our lived experience, our age. So that's my personal opinion. So, Mridula, I think you had a similar, similar opinion.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think before we did this talk, there was a lot of talk if there's a female gaze, and it's interesting to raise because I think if we look back through history, there seems to definitely be this idea of the male gaze, and you see it in film and photography. So it's interesting to ask the question back and, you know, realize it. But for some reason, I don't think there's necessarily a female gaze that would put, you know, bunch women's work together, but there is a female way of working, I believe. And I don't know, you know, obviously there's going to be people who sit outside this, so it is a generalization, but I think there's a certain tenderness to the way that women work, and the way that it kind of comes down from the life experience of constantly having to be aware of how you are perceived, how you tread, how you work in a very male-dominated industry, that brings that tenderness, I think, and that ability to be very emotionally intelligent and think very deep in a situation, which I do kind of see come through my work, even though I'm quite a young photojournalist. I've been able to kind of stride ahead because of that. So yeah, while I don't think there's a female gaze in terms of the output of the work, I think there is a female way of working that I think has been more sought after in the industry. Lyndal, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm on the same page as you. You definitely have mixed feelings on this one. On one hand, if there is a male gaze, and it's hard to deny that there's a long-standing and predominant way of visualizing women that objectifies them or disempowers them, then you feel like there must be some sort of female gaze counterpart. But the opposite would be something surprising and empowering, which, you know, should be a good thing, right? But then it still feels very reductive to say that people have different ways of seeing things, or that you might be unable to see things in the same way as somebody else. But it all comes down to, I guess, the way you identify and gender having an impact on the way you experience the world. And I think that what we're heading for, and probably aiming for, is not some sort of female counterpart point, but a more self-aware and educated gaze that's spread over the whole population, a bit more considered than.
Yeah.
So it's not just like the criticism isn't that's a male gaze, that's an objectifying or cliche or inconsiderate point of view, not a male gaze as such. But I guess the other side of the question is, has being female had an impact on the work that you've made? And that you can't, it has to be yes in some ways. Like, your lived experience as a female is part of what makes up your overall perspective on the world. That has an impact on how people relate to you. And I don't think, I don't like to think that my gender is evident in my pictures, but at the same time, I mean, it definitely informs how they've been made and people's response to me. So I think can't entirely get away from that. It's part of your perspective and point of view.
I think especially like maybe the question isn't whether there's a female gaze. I really think the question is whether there's a new gaze, because if you look at, you know, Lyndal's work, you know, if you're objectively looking at it, it's kind of, you know, undressed women, whatever. Maybe the actual end thing, if that was shot by a male, would that change our viewpoint of it? And I think, unless this is a political question in some ways, not that we need to get into politics, but the output could very much be the same. But I think this new gaze that we're kind of going into is, who is the content maker? And that's the kind of question behind it that drives this, as opposed to what the work sometimes looks like, which is, depending on who's listening to this talk, that's a difficult kind of concept to navigate.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mridula, that there is a new gaze, and I think part of that is due to social media and people being more aware and exposed. So yeah, I think it is changing, fortunately. I think that's
before we move to the next question, let me just remind people in the audience to put your questions in the chat box, which is now on the left side. What's happening with the annual membership and what you get with this? So as you can see, we kickstart the program with Roger Ballen. For those who do not know him, please Google him and do it on YouTube and look for his videos. They are pretty amazing. I think one of them got 160 million views. And I don't have to introduce the other photographers. They're all extremely well-known photographers, Australian photographers. Annual membership gives you a whole lot of other benefits other than being members of a community and supporting head-on. You get a whole lot of other benefits, including significant discounts on from different partners that work with us, and discounts on entry fees and stuff like that. And this will be open soon for the awards, and each year we give about $70,000 worth of prizes, including about $30,000 in cash. So definitely something worthwhile. So these are the dates, upcoming dates. So at the moment we are inviting people to submit to the exhibition submissions. So this is the program for 21. As I mentioned just a second ago, the add-on photo awards entries will open in May. In August, we've got a fantastic new initiative. We are launching a magazine, online interactive magazine, and the festival itself is going to be in November this year, not in May. And we've got also a couple of shows in May in regional New South Wales for the 2020 Vision exhibition, which is quite fantastic. We've got great work in that one. So just a mention for this one. We've got a session tomorrow for anyone who's interested to know more about it. Otherwise, just go to the website. It's under submissions. The biggest thing is that because of the difficulties, the challenges that a lot of photographers had last year, and thanks to support that we received from Create New South Wales, we're able now to cover costs for many of the exhibitions. So definitely something to look into. If you've got good work and you're ready to show it, just jump online and submit.